I just did a full tour of my 3 mobile detailing vans that I plan to use to scale up to $100,000 a month by the end of the summer in my mobile detailing business. But in this video, I want to walk you through more of the in-depth, step-by-step actions that I took across my 3-year journey to get from 1 to 3 detailing vans. And I want to walk you through what you need to know going into that first purchase of a mobile detailing vehicle, how to use it in your business, both in terms of building it out for efficiency, and then also going into branding, wrapping it out. And maybe you already have a mobile detailing vehicle. In that case, toward the end of the video, we're going to be gearing the conversation more in the direction of scaling up, getting a second vehicle, and staffing them out for maximum profitability. If you're making between $0 and $5,000 a month, you should watch the entirety of this video. If you're between $5,000 and $10,000 a month, I've got some timestamps here to watch that are going to talk through buying that first mobile detailing vehicle and things that you need to know. But there is some information squeezed in at the end that's going to be highly valuable for those of you that are making 10, 15, 20, 30 grand a month in your business as you're trying to scale up to getting multiple detailing vehicles and scaling with employees. I literally walk through the exact systems that I used to go from 1 detailing van to 3 detailing vans. Those are timestamped as well. First, let's take a look at each of the 3 detailing vans that I bought, and I'm going to walk you through the stats so you can get a rough idea of whether or not you should be purchasing these vehicles in cash, financing them out, how much they should cost from the van to the wrap to the build out, and so forth. So the first van that I bought was a 2015 Ford Transit Connect. That was bought in March of 2023. And that was bought about 8-9 months after I started my detailing business. I saved up, bought it in cash, and it had 156,000 miles when I purchased it, okay? Now that's pretty high, a little bit higher than what I would recommend. All 3 of these vans are Ford Transit Connects, but I'm also gonna walk you through some of my experience with other detailing vans because I do have about 130 detailers that I help work with, and some of them have different kinds of vehicles. But that first van had 156,000 miles on purchase. We spent about $3,000 in repairs when I first got it, not because anybody screwed us over, but just because we knew going into it that we needed to replace some things. So we did about $3,000 worth of maintenance to it, so all in about $16,500. Now, what I did is I bought it in cash, and as soon as I had enough money to pay for the wrap, I went in and got my bank account back down to $0, spent about $3,500 on a full wrap. And that's going to be about average when you look at quotes for different wraps. I was quoted anywhere from $2,500 up to like $5,500 and landed somewhere in the middle with a reputable company in my area. Now, it cost us just shy of $10,000 to build out. That build out cost got cheaper and cheaper with each of the vans, and it's going to be even cheaper on this third vehicle because we build them out ourselves and we've started to learn how to do them more efficiently. And that first vehicle we bought probably more than what we needed, probably about $1,500, $2,000 worth of equipment that we never ended up using. Now, the issues that I've had with the vehicle itself over the last 2 years, about $4,000 in maintenance when I first bought it, like I said, between $3,000 and $4,000. And then we had $4,000 for power steering last year. Okay, so the power steering on this vehicle is very finicky. It broke on us, so literally the steering stops working. You have to put about 20 pounds of pressure in order to get the wheel to move over. It's very common on the vehicles, especially when they have higher miles, and that happened to us last year on both of the vehicles. Outside of that, that's really the only issue that we've had. Some people talk about the transmissions being difficult for these Ford Transit vans. I haven't experienced that. Second van, this one we financed. I put $2,000 down on a $21,000 vehicle. We pay $349 a month for it. It's a 2021 Transit Connect XL, so a slightly larger model with 119,000 miles on it when we purchased it. This one has been nicer and more reliable. I would recommend buying ones plus or minus 2020. I wouldn't go much sooner than that just based on my experience with them. It did have that exact same power steering issue. Funny enough, the power steering on this one went out, I think, in July of last year, and then in September of last year, that's when the other one happened on. So even though it's a newer vehicle, a little bit nicer, it had that same issue as well. The wrap was a little bit cheaper, and I think that was just because the company that we used to wrap it was running a discount at the time, so we had about $3,200 in that wrap. Build out cost us about $6,000 because there were several things that I said on that first van that we bought for the build out that we never used. We had a DI water system that we never ended up using. We had vacuum attachment reels that we ended up stripping from the van and just going with a portable rigid vacuum. Now, this third vehicle, we bought that at $28,000 and I ended up putting $500 down. Now, later on in the video, I want to walk you through exactly my thesis behind buying in cash versus going and financing these vehicles. I do have a fairly smart method, in my opinion, for when you should do one or the other. But this one cost us about $531 a month. It was a 2020 Ford Transit Connect XL, so a little bit older than that second van, but it only had 36,000 miles on purchase. This one we bought from a dealership in Nashville, Tennessee, drove all the way up to get it to also visit some family that lives up there. But this one we bought off of Firestone Tire. They had traded it into the dealership just a month or two before. They had used it for mobile tire replacement. So it actually actually came with a bunch of really nice equipment like an air compressor and a generator as well. So we've got some nice equipment in there as well for that price. Haven't built it out, haven't wrapped it, but I imagine that build out is going to be slightly cheaper than van 2 because we have figured out exactly what we want to do. Now, I'm going to walk you through the exact journey that I took from 1 to 3 with the vans over the last 2.5 years. For those that know my story, I had my mobile detailing business for about 8-9 months before I bought that first van. I was operating out of the back of my mom's SUV, and I did that up until I crossed that first $10,000 mark. Do I think you need to wait until you make 10 grand in a month to buy your first detailing van? No. And I'm going to walk through more of that later, but that is how long I decided to wait, just to prove it out to myself so I could buy it in cash, but then also know that I had steady cash flow coming in to make it worth the investment, since I did sink a lot of money into it right out the gate. So March 2023, that was my first ever $10,000 month, up from doing 5 grand in January and February leading up to it. Bought the first van in cash, did the maintenance on it. In April, I paid to wrap it in cash and worked out of it for 2 months without a build out. End of May was when we did the build out in cash, got my first full-time employee. That was my first $15,000 month. Now, during this season of my business, it was literally a constant cycle of put money in the business account, drain it to go buy something new. Go put more money in the business account, work my ass off, drain it to go get something new for the van. That is how it's supposed to be. We have run the last 2 years of our business at a quote unquote loss when tax season comes around because of how much money we are putting back into the business. Now, some of that comes through just being smart in terms of taxes. If you have a quality accountant, you can figure out little loopholes to make sure that you're saving as much on those tax dollars as possible. But for the last 2 years, I have run my business at a quote unquote loss because it is a constant cycle of make money, reinvest it back in. And that's how we're able to scale so quickly. So first, abolish any thoughts in your mind of, oh my gosh, I am spending countless dollars. If it keeps working, if the business keeps sustaining itself and bringing in more income, it's worth continuing to reinvest in. The only way you'd have a problem is if the business is no longer sustaining itself and you have to pull from your own personal cash to make things like this happen. So like I said, in May, that's when we did our first ever $15,000 month. I had my first full-time employee. And at this time, we were probably able to do about 3 to 4 details a day with that build out. In August of 2023, that was about 4 months deep of between $15,000 and $18,000 a month. I didn't drop below $15K a month, but I didn't cross into 20 at that time as well. I hired a second employee to slowly automate that first van, and then I decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead and buy that second van in September. I actually bought that second van in September of 2023 on my 17th birthday, literally right on the day. This is the one that we financed at first as well. Like I said, 2 grand down. We're financing it for about $349 a month. And the thing about this van, my thought process behind it was, I'm going to go ahead and buy this vehicle. I'm going to finance it. It's going to cost me 2 full details a month, less than 2 full details a month. If this van allows me to bare minimum book out a couple extra cars per month, I'm going to be in the green. Funny enough, there's a saying that goes, if you build it, they will come. As soon as we got that van ready and I opened up my calendar to take 2 details at the same time, 2 9 a.m. slots, 2 noon slots, it started getting filled out. Within 2 weeks of getting that van available, before I'd even built out, we were starting to consistently do about $1,500 a day. That was our first ever month doing $30,000, okay? And that I had 2 full-time employees. Now, once again, for those of you that know my story, we turned to October of 2023. Toward the end, things were going amazing, and the business collapsed. Why did it collapse? Because I was 17 and I was trying to manage a team, and I didn't know how to. And I was being too aggressive with the profit margins that I wanted. I wasn't treating my people correctly. So everybody quit out from under me within a 2-week period. I had 3 people at this time. I just hired an additional 1 for part-time, and everybody just left. So now I was left with 2 mobile detailing vans, about $30,000 a month worth of customers calling my phone, and 1 me. So we put that second van into storage for the time. Kind of sucked, but once again, only $349 a month. So it's really not that big of a financial setback, although it did feel like the end of the world at the time for me. It felt worse than a breakup because it was my whole life at that point. Now, February of 2024, I started hiring again. Now we're at a little over a year ago. Started hiring again with the second van still in storage. And I started trying to figure out better practices for 1, finding better people, 2, building better systems, and 3, making better incentive structures so that my people felt like they actually had a path to grow with our company. So that was my focus really during the first and second quarter of 2024. And I hired a bunch of mentors. I spent probably 20 grand in mentorship with people that had actually run big companies at full scale so I could figure out what the hell I was supposed supposed to be doing as far as scaling. Because I knew exactly how to get detailing customers. It was very simple. It was run ads, have a quality organic presence online in my area. But as far as scaling up, that was my biggest struggle. So now we go to May of 2024. I had a killer team in place, and the second van was back in the game. So we ran 2 vans all last summer, started doing those big number months. Once again, by September of 2024, I had 5 full-time employees, and I'm going to walk you through later in this video. I know I keep saying that, but there really is so much value packed in here. Later in this video, you're going to get the exact blueprint for how I scaled from literally losing all of my employees to 5 full-time employees within the span of 11 months, getting it back up to speed. But in September, I had 5 full-time employees again. December of last year, I bought the third van. Why did I buy it? Once again, it was a little preemptive. That third van has been sitting for about 2.5 months, hasn't seen any action yet. It was preemptive for a couple reasons. One, we're yet to launch our new ad campaigns, which are going to take us over that threshold into being able to book out that third van. But I wanted to make sure that I had it ready to go. That way, once the team was trained up, I could start staffing it out. So I got it in play before that point, and then I also wanted to give some time to build it out. But here's the kicker. There's something called depreciation. What this is in taxes is if you buy a vehicle before the end of the year, you're able to take what's called depreciation. I can't explain it exactly to you. It's something my accountant walked me through, but depreciation allows you to write off the full cost of that vehicle even if you financed it out. So I put $500 down, financed it out at like $530 a month, but we're going to be able to write off almost $30,000 worth of that to once again, guess what? Run our business at a loss this year once taxes come around here in about a month. So now, January of 2024, that was 2.5 months ago, we had 3 full-time employees. I'm putting profit first. So I scaled back, got rid of 2 of them just to put profit first. I switched from 2 employees per van down to 1 employee per van, which we're going to walk through a little bit more in a second. All right, when should you buy your first detailing van? Let me debunk a couple myths for you. First is the professionalism myth, okay? Have you ever sat around and thought, my customers are not going to take me seriously unless I have a detailing van? Unless I pull up in this stupid nice wrapped out thing, LED lights, fog machine, super sick van. While that is going to be awesome for scale long term and it's really going to have you're going to get pride in your own business, it doesn't have anything to do with sales right now. Here's why. What are your first impressions with your detailing customers? It's over the phone. Are you charismatic over the phone? Can you sell? Can you make them feel at ease with the service they picked? Do you have good 5-star reviews? Do you have a professional website? There's your first impression. So now the only way that you roll up and they're going to think anything less of you because you're out of the back of your Honda Civic or your 4Runner or whatever you have, the only reason they're going to think any less of you is if that first impression over the phone, over the website, and so forth, initially booking, started to be degraded by the fact that you stepped out of that vehicle, your hair was a mess, you were in terrible clothes, you smelled, you didn't have a smile on your face. Those are the only reasons why that first impression would start to degrade. So really think through the fact that the professionalism element only matters at scale. If you're operating a mobile detailing business around about $10,000 a month, plus or minus, or even $5,000 a month, it's not going to make you any more money to have a van. Not going to make you any more money. You're not going to get more customers because you have a van. All that's going to do is be some level of confidence boost for yourself. So if you can't source that confidence from within and give your customer an awesome experience, start to finish, from the phone call to the website to interacting with them in person to actually making the vehicle look awesome, if you can't source that confidence from within, you're the problem. The van is not the problem. Okay. From there, let's talk about efficiency. Here's when efficiency matters. If a mobile detailing van built out, fully loaded, is going to get you to the point where you can do 3-4 vehicles a day when otherwise you'd only be able to do 1 or 2 a day, the only reason that's going to matter for you is if you're so booked out that you're turning customers away. If you only have enough leads to do 1 or 2 details a day, it doesn't matter if each vehicle takes you an extra hour because you don't have a van, because you're not going to go to another job at the end of the day unless you have more bookings coming through. So if you're only getting 2 leads a day, you're only able to book out 2 details a day, and they're taking you on average 3 or 4 hours, yeah, you might not be able to fit a third one at the end of the day, but you don't need to fit a third one at the end of the day. You need to focus on your marketing because you don't have that other call coming through. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter if that detail takes you longer than you want it to, because the only thing that you're going to be using that extra time for is coming home and picking your nose. Now, maybe you've got things that you're working on the back end of your business that efficiency could help you out with, but I guarantee you the most important time to focus on efficiency is when you're so booked out that little bit of extra boost, allowing you to book in an extra detail at the end of the day, is going to make you more money. So you need to understand what your biggest focus should be, and that is your marketing and your sales. Up until that first van, marketing and sales, professionalism and efficiency are going to be little side notes, footnotes that are important but not the most important. Can you get enough leads coming through the door? Can you sell to them effectively enough where they're going to pay your high prices and feel confident in your service? That way, when you show up and deliver amazing results, they have had a great customer journey from start to finish. All right, when should you buy the detailing van? I told you that I waited until I was at $10,000 a month. Okay. I coach over 130 mobile detailers across the country, and I actually usually recommend my guys start to look into getting their first vehicle when they're consistently doing $5, $6, $7 a month. Why? Because that's still over $50,000 a year. That's $60,000 to $90,000 a year at that mark. You don't have to be making $120,000 a year to get a mobile detailing van. Really, it's going to be based off of two things. One, increased leads, therefore efficiency matters, like I said before. And two, the scale at which you want to operate your company. Now you have more cash flow coming in. You can start focusing less on hustling for the leads and focusing more on scaling with efficiency, bringing in an employee and so forth. So I would not necessarily recommend waiting until you've crossed that first $10,000 a month. I would prove the model out to yourself, and maybe proving the model for you is, whoa, I just did $4,000 last month with my detailing business. If this continues for 2 more months, I can quit my job because I make $3,000 a month at my full-time job. Once you quit that job, guess what? It's van time. Because now this is your business. This is your life. So that's really where I would start to frame your mentality when it comes to buying that first detailing van. It should be in accordance with your why. All right, what do you need to have in place before you buy that van? You need to have your LLC in place. You can go on LegalZoom.com. You can spend $300 as long as you're in the US. You can call LegalZoom directly on their website. I don't have an affiliate link. I've just used them for 2.5 years. You call LegalZoom, call the phone number on their website, say, hey, I want to get my LLC. You'll talk to somebody friendly on customer service for an hour. Within that hour period, you're going to have filled out the information they need. In 2 weeks, you're going to have it in the mail saying, hey, your business is official. Here are the steps to go create your business bank account and register with the state. You need an LLC because you want your LLC to what? Purchase your detailing vehicle for you. You want to begin to separate your personal finances from your business finances. And a big first step is making sure that that detailing vehicle is bought under your business name. Business name. Now, when you do buy it, you're going to be what's called a personal guarantor. Because your business credit takes longer to establish than your personal credit. For example, you can have built up your personal credit over 2-3 years and be able to finance a vehicle. You can build up your business credit for 2-3 years and you're still going to struggle to what? Finance a vehicle. Because businesses, by the data, say that most small businesses are going to fail within the first 5 years. So lenders are going to be more weary of giving out loans to new businesses, especially small ones owned by one person. It's going to be much easier for you to finance it under your personal credit, but you still want to buy it in your business name. If you need help figuring that out, go ahead and talk to an accountant. But you're going to personally sign your name on the loan, so you're at fault if that loan defaults, but it's still going to be under the business name, which allows you to make it a tax write-off. If anything I said there was complicated, write it down, open up ChatGPT, go through, ask some questions, hire an attorney, hire a business attorney, and hire an accountant, right? Now, should we be financing our mobile detailing vehicles or should we be buying them in cash? Here's my thesis. I think it's insanely smart. There are a lot of people out there that really focus on interest. They're like, interest kills. For example, my personal vehicle, my Range Rover, I'm probably paying an extra 9 to 10% because I chose to finance it than if I bought it in cash. Here's why I choose to finance over buy most things in cash, and I have bought vehicles in cash. The reason why is because the value of your cash is directly tied to the time it takes you to acquire it and the time it takes you to spend it. Let's go through that step by step. If you're going to buy your first mobile detailing vehicle, which I wouldn't recommend being any less than 20 grand, because you saw my first vehicle, $13,500, got me a vehicle that needed some repairs and it's had issues since. Hasn't been too bad, but it's also high mileage. It's kind of beaten to the ground. We're probably going to have to phase it out in the next year or two, right? So I wouldn't spend any less than 20 grand. Say you're going to buy a detailing vehicle for $20,000. Say you make $5,000 a month in your mobile detailing business, okay? It's 20 grand. But don't think of it as 20 grand. Think of it as that's 4 months worth of my time, worth of my sweat, worth of my energy. That's 4 months that I am sinking into this thing. Now, let's say that you make 5 grand a month and you spend 3 grand a month between personal expenses and your business expenses. Okay. You're going to be looking at that $20,000 vehicle purchase. Quick math divided by $3,000 is 6.5 months worth of your expenses. So you can either have 6.5 months worth of money in the bank, or you can go buy a detailing van in cash. Which one do you think is smarter? It's going to be smarter to put that money in the bank than to go sink it all into an asset. Yes, it's an asset. It's not a liability. Don't get me wrong there. But 6.5 months worth of your expenses in the bank is, guess what? 6.5 months for you to screw up and fail in your business and still be okay. And everybody knows that with a new business, the biggest struggles that you're going to face are the fact that things are seasonal. Things are going to change. Some months are going to be good. Some months you're going to be in the dumps. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where all of your cash is tied up in something. Now bills start to hit you and you can't pay your bills. So I would much prefer to pay a little bit of interest and have peace of mind in the bank, because you're really choosing time or the van when you could be choosing time and the van by putting a low deposit down. $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And instead now you're only paying a few $100s per month, and you can just add that to your total monthly living expenses. So that's my overall thought. If you're somebody that really wants to buy something in cash, look, you can ignore my advice, but I'm telling you, I've proven it out. I've worked with over 130 mobile detailers to make these things happen. I really do think that that's going to be the way to go. Now, you also want business insurance from a major provider. You can just call, let's say you use Geico or State Farm or Farmers for your regular insurance. Just call them up and say, hey, I'm about to make a purchase with my business. Here's my LLC information. Draft me up an insurance policy. You're going to want to get overall, liability insurance, full coverage for that vehicle in case it's in a wreck. You're also going to want $1 million business liability policy. Check your state. Some states require $500,000 business liability. Some states require $1 million. I'm in Texas. Texas requires $1 million in liability. So that's business insurance of, if I damage a car up to $1 million, it'll be covered. That is going to be a requirement by the state. You don't want to get yourself in trouble with the law. Now, what should you expect as soon as you buy that first mobile detailing vehicle? You need to expect increased overhead and increased startup cost, but extreme pride in your business. I'm telling you, the moment that you make a big decision and a purchase like that, you are going to have a switch flipped in your mind saying, oh my gosh, this is my life now. This is my business. You're going to be extremely proud, and it's going to push you even farther, because mentality, mindset, and motivation do play a big role into these things. Now, for those of you that already have one mobile detailing vehicle, you're looking to scale up to many, or you're somebody that's yet to buy your first detailing vehicle, but you know you're meant for more and you don't just want to be a solo detailer, here's how you're going to scale to multiple vans. My credibility for speaking on this is the fact that we are about to introduce that third van. I've coached over 130 mobile detailers, some of which are doing $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month with multiple vehicles. When should you buy that second vehicle? When you're booked more than 2 to 3 days in advance consistently. You can go back on my YouTube channel and you can see a video that I made 2 years ago when I bought that second detailing vehicle. I was saying it back then and I'll still say it now. I said, I bought this vehicle because I'm consistently booked out for about a week. I don't want to brag about the fact that I'm booked out for a week like most detailers. Most detailers are going to sit there and say, we're 2 weeks booked out. That means we're the best. 2 weeks booked out, brother, is this. It's somebody who just needs their car done before Friday because they have family coming in town, can't book with you. That's $300 you just lost. How many people are going to wait 1-2 weeks for a detail service? Yes, they might wait 1-2 weeks for a ceramic coating, for a paint correction from the most reputable detailer in town, but they're not gonna freaking wait for an interior and exterior. You don't need to throw shade on the interior and exterior details. They're going to be your lifeblood. If you can book 3 full details out in a day, that's $900. Could be $1,000 with upsells and tips. You need to understand that most people are not going to wait more than 3 days. For sure not going to wait more than 5 days. So when you're consistently booking 2-3 days out in advance, you need to look at buying that second vehicle. Even if you're not going to start immediately with another van, you might say, you know what, van's on the road, I'm going to start using my personal car again to go service vehicles. That's totally fine. But if you buy that detailing vehicle and it costs you $400 a month, guess what? That's only 2 full details you have to do per month. Only 2. Less than 2 if they're higher ticket. So you also need to have at least 1 quality person, preferably 2 quality people in your company before you buy that second detailing van, because obviously you as a solo detailer can't occupy 2 vehicles, right? So you want to look for 1 quality person. I'm going to break down that strategy for you here in a second. If you're still with me, congratulations. I could probably be charging $2,500 for this information if I formalize it into a course, but I'm just giving it out there because I'm telling you this stuff is going to change the game for you. Now, how should you buy that second van? Maybe you decided to finance or purchase that first vehicle in cash. That's fine-ish. You still know my thesis on buying in cash versus financing, but if you bought that first van in cash, you should probably go ahead and finance that second one. Now, you should also prematurely buy it at the end of the year. If you're coming up at the end of the year, if it's November, December, and you're saying, I don't need another van right now, but probably by March, April, May, when summer starts to pick up, I will, buy it before the end of the year. Why? because of the tax purposes I laid out beforehand. All right, now let's go into some additional considerations as you scale up, and then I'm going to walk you through the exact blueprint by which I have scaled up profitably with my mobile detailing vans. First, you need to understand that there might be a season where that van sits. Don't let it stress you out. Like I said, you only need an average of 2 details per month or a little bit less to cover the cost of a financed out van. You don't even have to build it and wrap it immediately. You can go service with an empty van as long as you keep your stuff organized and you still are able to deliver the same quality of results. So understanding that they might sit, that's going to be totally fine. I had my second van sitting for 5-6 months. The third van's been sitting there for 2.5 months before we're about to put it in play. That's totally fine. By keeping your expenses as low as possible, you can afford to have it sit and not make you money for a little bit. Okay. Now, you want to also start developing an ecosystem where you're never caught on the back foot. Now we're moving into territory of how to hire and how to do it profitably, efficiently, without stress. If you're in a situation like I was last 2 years, where all I had was either 1 employee or 2 employees, and I relied solely on them, and if they quit, everything was done because I scaled up my demand, but my operations, right, my foundation was shaky, you're going to be screwed if somebody quits. You need to always have 1 person in training more than what you actually need, okay? So if you have 1 mobile detailing vehicle, you plus an employee, and you should have somebody that's part-time that you're training, you're working with. Because guess what? If that 1 person quits or you have to fire them for whatever reason, things can happen in business. You have somebody that you can say, hey, we're promoting you to full-time. Come in the van with me. If you have 2 detailing vans, you should have 3 people. 2 full-time, 1 part-time, or maybe, try to have a 3rd person for full-time as well and just give them random tasks throughout the week. You need to always have 1 additional person than what you need and figure out how to afford it. Because I guess the big problem that you might run into is, Hudson, payroll expenses, too expensive. How do I afford to have 1 more person than I need? Figure it out, sit with your accountant, do the math yourself. You need to be able to afford to have 1 more person than what you need. Why? Because you don't want to be caught on the back foot. So here's how I've scaled profitably. I used to do 2 guys per van. The problem with that was payroll. Even if we're charging $100 an hour for our details, you can't really, especially in Texas, pay somebody less than $20 an hour to go fulfill these details out in the freaking summer suns, 110 degrees. You can't do it. So 2 people per van, if I'm paying the lead tech $25 an hour and the other guy $20 an hour, that's $45 an hour. We're sitting at $55 an hour left over after payroll. Not even considering marketing expenses, chemical costs of, vehicles, insurance, maintenance, all the things that pop up. You're going to always be nuking your business savings account if you run with 2 guys per van. You need to optimize for 1 guy per van. Now, the problem that you might run into with 1 guy per van is, how does he get held accountable? How do we make sure that the quality of his work maintains thorough? How do we make sure that he's able to interact with the customers well, to upsell them and so forth? Here's how you're going to do it. You're actually going to strip all of those responsibilities from your employees minus detailing. Let me show you an example. This is Jack with Detail Dogs, Athens, Georgia. Okay. He's running 2 vans just shy of $30,000 a month, and he's about to buy the 3rd detailing vehicle. I built this system with some of my mentors over the last year, and Jack is an example of somebody that I'm replicating it with inside Driven Elite. Here's what we're doing for him. I said, Jack, what you're going to do is you're going to strip all of those responsibilities from your employees minus detailing. So your employees are not going to be upselling. They're not going to be inspecting the vehicles. They're not going to be responsible for quality control. Yes, they want to do a good job, but they're not going to do that final checklist. They're not going to get reviews from the customers. They're not going to try to sell them on the maintenance plan. That's going to be on you. What you're going to do is you're going to have 1 guy per van. In Jack's case, 2 vans. You're going to have 2 guys out on the road, and you are going to drive in your personal car between the 2 jobs to fill all of those other responsibilities. So you stagger your start times. You start with 1 detail at 8:30 a.m., the other at 9 a.m. You're going to show up at 8:30 a.m., you're going to inspect the vehicle, make sure that there's no excessive conditions that you need to charge more for, maybe sell some additional services if you want to. Notice the headlights are foggy, sell them on a $90 headlight restoration, however you want to do it. Then you're going to drive from there over to the 9 a.m. appointment, and you're going to do the same thing. At the end of that 8:30 job, say 8:30 finishes at noon, you're going to drive back over, you're going to check everything over, make sure everything's packed up well, you're going to greet the customer, make sure they're satisfied, get a review, sell them on a ceramic coating, on a paint correction, sell them on a maintenance detail, whatever you have in your business, whatever systems you have, they're going to be on you as the manager. You are going to be that manager. You're promoting yourself from detailer to manager because it's easy to what? It's easy to train out detailing. Maybe it's not easy to train out the super fine stuff like ceramic coatings, paint correction. You can still go and fulfill those yourself. But for regular details, you need to put somebody in place to take care of those things as soon as you can. And then you need to what? You need to fulfill the role and promote yourself up to manager. So now you can have three vans running at $100 an hour, give or take. You're only spending between $20 and $25 an hour on payroll, depending on, how long the employee's been there, however much you want to give them. Maybe they have a bonus structure, but they're only worried about one thing, and that's making sure that the vehicle looks awesome. So now you've removed all of the complexity from their role, given it to yourself, and now you are able to go and manage 2 or 3 units at a given time. That's how we've scaled up profitably. That's what I'm doing for some of my more elite clients that I'm working with, and that's exactly how you can do it. Now, the other thing that I want to walk you through, my guy Vincent. I have been working with Vincent in New Jersey with Caruso's Mobile Detailing since, I want to say, February of 2024. He was fresh out of high school. He was making $3-4 grand a month between detailing and pressure washing. We started working together, decided to go all in on detailing, and he scaled up to $25,000 a month out of his personal vehicle. This is the van that he bought last month. He just bought this van, just built it out, just wrapped it up, and he was making 25 grand a month before out of a personal vehicle. And he has almost 200 5-star reviews. If that's an example for your first detailing van to say, you know what, I don't need to be stressing myself out about professionalism, because he was crushing it. Didn't have a single 1-star review, was doing very, very well, and he ramped up to $25,000 a month, hired his first employee out of his, I think he had a Jeep. You can even go on his YouTube channel, search up Vincent Caruso Detailing, and you can see the full build out that he made by himself, spent like $4 grand building out the back of his SUV. And he was able to scale up with that. And now he's got this detailing van. And now he has a foundation for scale because he focused on what? Acquiring new leads before he moved into infrastructure and building out very complex things, because he was focused on cash flow, focused on lead flow, and focused on stacking cash. And he went and financed the van as well. Even got a loan out for the build out. From last I talked to him, he's got like 60 grand in savings that he didn't have to spend on this. He spends less than $2,000 a month. He has years of savings sitting around and a detailing van that's now producing him more than what he was making before, because he's able to increase that efficiency a little bit. And he's able to start hiring more employees for this detailing van, and they're able to be more efficient through having an infrastructure and a setup. So that is my blueprint for buying your first, second, third mobile detailing vehicle. Each of these vans realistically should be generating you between $15,000 and $25,000 a month, depending on the ticket prices of your services. 3 detailing vans should at minimum be generating you 50 grand in a month, minimum. And you can do that with 3 employees. You can run 3 detailing vans at probably about 35-40% profit margins. That's going to be healthy. So out of your $50,000 a month, you're going to be sitting at, let's run that math real quick, about 20 grand a month in profit. And your responsibilities are going to be picking up the phone and making sure your customers are satisfied at the beginning and the end of each job. And you get to make what? $20,000 a month, $250,000 a year, damn near, with a mobile detailing business that you started 2 years ago. Welcome to my world. I hope I can see you at the next Driven Elite event.